How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to Apartment 40. I'm your host, as always, Peter Rocha. Today, I'm co-hosted again by Efren Flores. Welcome to the show, Efren.
Thanks for having me, Peter.
Fantastic. Thanks for coming back. Today's guest is the reptile expert over at Carter's Pet Mart here in Stockton, my good friend Brent. How's it going?
Good, bro. How you doing?
Great, dude. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you.
All right, let's get into this. Let's just start off a little bit with who you are and what do you do?
Brent Pulliam. Been working with reptiles for over 10 years in the retail setting. God, I grew up with reptiles since the youngest I can remember. Mom to bring home snakes, tarantulas from the desert.
Yeah.
And a little kid waking up to weird snakes.
Where'd you grow up at? In
Tucson, Arizona.
Okay, yeah, the home of the most venomous reptiles in the U.S. Yeah, fantastic. That's a great place to grow up, especially if you're going to be into reptiles. You know.
No, it is. Definitely. It was a great place to start. It was more of a passion. My dad grew up skinning and hunting rattlesnake, and we sell the skins to Indians and the local Mexicans in the area at the swap meets. That was pretty fun. Yeah. Actually, I grew up skinning and hunting and developing a passion for them throughout the years of having them.
How is that? How do you feel about that now? I know, like the rattle wrangles.
The rattlesnake roundups.
Yeah.
In Texas, yeah.
Yeah. How do you feel about those having a background in harvesting rattlesnakes?
I'm indifferent about it because it's still a humanity thing. You still want to save all the animals, but at the same time, it's a population issue. So it's they have live birth, and they're immediately able to bite as soon as they're born. So that's a venom that they don't have muscles to bite to pull back their fangs. So when they bite you, they just dump mass amounts of venom into you because they can't pull their fangs out.
So it's over.
So they just dump all their venom into you. And these, let's say you have 20 snakes, have 20 babies. Now that's all those babies in that area that have not a lot of predators.
Yeah.
That's why the numbers get so high so fast. That's why the roundups are actually done, is to keep the population on the rattlesnakes down enough so it doesn't impede on humans. And people, it's hard. They see
the dead animal and not the impact on the ecosystem. Because you think those 20 snakes have 20 babies. Not only are there not predators for those, but there's not enough food for all those babies. Now you're just gonna have them, perishing out from starving or mostly starving.
Oh yeah, a lot of them get picked off when they do get weak and stuff like that. But birds of prey and other king snakes actually. Yeah. King snakes is their food of choice, is rattlesnakes.
Yeah.
In the desert.
So what reptiles did you start off with? You said you've been doing it for almost ever at this point. What got you into it? What was the first?
My first one was Babe. I actually still have her in my freezer.
Yeah.
10 years old. Got it from the Serpentarium from the original owner, Bill Gillingham. Real great guy. Real great place. Which is what gave me a fascination for him. I've never seen a specific reptile store. I've always just seen the pet stores, and you see all the other animals, but I walked into there and I'm like, wow, what is this?
Yeah.
Like, really? And it started with the red tail. I had the red tail for into high school. And by then I picked up 2 or 3 other snakes, another red tail, and a king snake. And in my biology classes in high school, I was the reptile guy.
Yeah.
I was the fearless one. I was always pulling stuff out, and so I found out I really love them. And I ended up going to warehouse work and busting my back and hurting myself for multiple years. And I'm like, you know what? I'm done. I'm gonna try this reptile thing out.
Yeah.
And that's when I finally decided to just put all my cards in one boat, and that was about 12 years ago.
And how's your breeding programs and your reptile business going?
Ups and downs.
Yeah.
It has its big ups and downs. We have more of a hobbyist business. It's not even a business, just because you have to have a lot set in place for it to be a business.
Yeah.
We exist in the hobbyist level just because we make the money and we buy rats, and then we buy tons of rats.
Yeah.
Well, that feeds our snakes year round, and some other heating costs and other stuff like that. Well, other people doesn't seem to realize this last year they decided to throw me under the bus by saying we were a business We are a business in residential Stockton breeding snakes. So that was in city violation of 3 codes.
Really? So that was that big old thing that, because for everyone's information, you were supposed to be on last season, right?
Yes.
For season 1.
Yes.
But yeah, you told me some things were going on with your reptile room and all that. So that's what was.
Yep. I must have stepped on somebody's toes.
Yeah.
And they turned me in as a business in a residential neighborhood, which is illegal.
Yeah.
For one.
Yeah.
And then apparently breeding snakes or even keeping snakes in residential Stockton is illegal as well by a city code.
Really, it's an ordinance just to you're not even allowed to have snakes.
A single snake. The officer told me that if you get a report on you, they can seize your snake. Doesn't matter, but they don't go actively looking for them.
Yeah. Okay.
But the officer tells me, go ahead and get yourself a storage.
Oh, like a storage unit?
It's legal
Yeah.
because it's commercial. Commercial and industrial are legal and not residential.
So if you have a huge collection of snakes and you live in city limits,
They had to disappear.
yeah. Well, that's why the hardest part about Stockton is our county and city limits overlap each other. There's big arms that are just sticking out. So you'd be driving March or something and go through county and then city and county again, and you're just neighbors. So.
And every single time you cross that line, the laws change a little bit.
Yeah. There's a little bit of ordinance, a little bit of wiggle room there. I did not know that because we knew each other forever, and we, exchanged snakes and reptiles, and we see each other at reptile shows, and we just got buckets of snakes. And
Always do.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I had a friend, real good breeder here up in Sacramento, Scott Menifee, breeds the scaleless corn snakes.
Okay, yeah.
He, real cool guy as well. We had a deal gone wrong. We bought a female, but it was bought a female calico, and ended up being a male. So we're like, oh man, that kind of sucks, and kind of posted it if anybody wants this guy, we don't need him anymore. And a buddy of mine goes, well, I just bought a rack, and it came with a bunch of free snakes. Want to come pick them up? I'm like, what? What? And he goes, ball pythons. I had tons of ball pythons and 7 free females. Do you want them? Yeah, of course. No, this dude's always giving me a real good plug and real good one-up.
Yeah, those are good.
Guy. And it's you run into people in this industry consistently.
Yeah. If you're into reptiles, you'll notice that a lot of the same people are into reptiles, and
a lot of nice people.
They're really nice. What I like the most about reptile people is that they're so informed. They all want to just unload the information they got on their animal. There's a bunch of different cliques, and you got leopard geckos, ball pythons, your spider guys, your turtle guys. But when you start talking to them and they get going on what they like, it's just you can't stop them.
Yeah,
they're just gonna
pours out.
And then it starts to branch out.
Yeah,
it's a blessing and a curse. Trust me.
So how many individual species would you say you've worked with, as far as keeping and husbandry?
Oh God. Wow. Just snakes alone. I have worked with just corn snakes and pleniomorphs. King snakes, pleniomorphs, different localities. I've worked with directly bred at least 3 or 4 different rat species, old world rats. Those are unique, different. Some of them have to be a little cooler and kept a lot cooler.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a struggle when you're keeping a species that needs to be kept at 65, and you have these other ones that are at 85.
Yeah, I ran into that problem big time when I was keeping crested geckos, leopard geckos, and ball pythons, all in the same old school display case, the kinds where it just had the old halogen insert.
Crested geckos are going, it's way too hot.
Oh, I feel so bad. I left for the day, and this was during the summer, and heat waves here and stuff, just on top of it. So I left. And I came back home and my room's just burning, just ambient at least 90. And I'm like, okay, well, if the ambient in just the room is 90, then the cages are at 100 and something. And sure enough, I go and my cresties are all cooked off, they have the white over their eye. And I'm like my Leos and ball pythons are yeah, cool, what's up, man? And when my poor crested geckos are just toast. And I was like, oh my god, man.
We all have our learning experiences.
Yeah, that's the hard part is that as much as you love animals and you because all reptile people, if you're keeping reptiles, if you're breeding reptiles, and hands down, you gotta have a heart for these animals. There's gotta be a little bit of a passion.
Yeah.
And the amount of animals you lose while keeping, while you're trying to breed or have a large population.
That's a statistic, and a lot of people don't even like to talk about. Yeah. It's a sore subject with this industry.
It is a sort I don't even talking about the animals I've lost because then it's it feels like it puts a little bit of damper on like your reputation and your like ability, but it's like you learn.
Course. Dude, like when we were getting my ex-fiance and I were getting a bunch of animals in, leopard geckos. We were trying to get all different types of geckos in. This is back when I just started breeding.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, this is amazing. And we got the friends together one day and we're like, man, we're doing so well. Let's go celebrate. Went out to the lake. The AC system stopped working in our house during that period of time. We had a small little house in the middle of the country, and it was 110 degrees outside that day. It was one of the saddest days I've ever encountered. I threw away over 50 geckos when I got home.
Leos too? Yeah, that's the hard. It's like, you'll hear like the temperatures are at like 100 degrees, like your outside temperature, but that's not including that there's heating mats and other heat sources in these enclosures that, like outside it might be 100 degrees, but inside those enclosures it's like 150.
It hurt the most. It hurt, and losing that many animals when I was young into it, and thought about how many different fail safes I could have done to avoid this after the fact. It made me sick to my stomach. Kind of like vowed never to screw that up like that, and it really it's sad. But at the same time, it forced me to realize that these animals need me to do more than I thought I needed to do.
Yeah. I had that when Efren. I mean, you haven't really gotten in the conversation yet, but I'll drag you in here. So we no, you're good. I know.
Sorry, dude.
It's fast paced. It's hella fast paced. You're good. This is only his second episode. He was on yesterday with a rock group, and then not today. But we're gonna cut this part out. What I was gonna say is, it happens. You can say whatever you want, dude. If it doesn't work, if you just want to stop and say something else, we'll get it and we'll cut it. It works great. But what I was gonna say is when, like you're saying, having like crazy losses. My very first breeding project for Bearded Dragons, he had one of the offspring, and the crazy thing about that is that out of Bearded Dragons laying 30 eggs, out of 30 eggs, I only had maybe like 10 of them make it. Because again, I had a heat wave come in. I didn't have a fail-safe on my incubator, and it just, with the incubator going on top of a heat wave, you're just like, you got an oven basically.
No, it is. It's what I turned that side room into was an oven.
And I ended up cooking off like 80% of my eggs, and you got even what Spyro had a little bit of a kinky tail at the end.
Yeah.
Because that was about the heat, affects the development, and most of the beardies that popped out of that clutch that got hit with the heat wave, the ones that made it had like a kink in the tail or like a missing tail, and I had one that didn't.
I'm dealing with my last clutch from last season that was laid, and since all my reptiles are at another house right now, I have my incubator in my reptile room in his house, and it's an old home, and I didn't know his duplexes were almost shot, and I plugged everything in, everything was going fine. I went to go check on it maybe December, and everything was off. My incubator was off.
Woo!
And I didn't know. I don't know how long it was off.
Yeah.
So we're day 78 on ball python eggs, and they were dimpling. So I'm like, okay, I have to cut them at this point.
Yeah.
I cut them all. Lost one, but there's 4 still sitting in their amniotic sac, still in their egg. I just went and checked on them today when I picked up the snakes. Still alive. Past day 80 in incubation.
Just hanging out.
I don't know how long the heat was off, so I'm like, oh God.
Yeah.
Hopefully everything's okay.
Yeah.
But no, it's heat directly affects how the babies develop.
Develops well, and that's like determines not only their developing but sex. I know a lot of
leopard geckos especially.
Their sex is determined by the temperature they're incubated at.
So 84 is like 84.5 is your 50-56. If you go like 87 degrees, you're hitting females.
Oh.
If you go,
I have no idea.
is it low on females or is it low on?
I think it's
Low on the females, high on the males, and then after 2 weeks, you up your temperatures if you want a high color female, because the temperatures now affect coloration. The first 2 weeks locks in gender, where everything after that is coloration. On leopard geckos.
Yeah,
Is that just for leopard geckos?
That's
mainly leopard geckos. There's a few other species.
it's like it's locked in for Leos. Like that's a science. You could be like, all right, well, if I want males, I'm going to incubate here, and then
for this period.
Yeah. If I want females, I'm going to do it a different temperature. At least for as far as I know for leopard geckos, because that's what I've worked with. I'm a big Leo guy.
Then there is a female temperature males and male temperature females. Those are few and far between.
Yeah.
But they will never mate for you. because it's a female that was made at male temperature. Now, she never has that really desire to really mate for some reason. Same thing with the males at female temperatures. They never get the desire to mate. It's one of those odd things that happen.
It just happens, yeah.
It doesn't happen a lot at all, but it does. Very, very little.
It's just nature telling you, like, this isn't gonna work.
Yeah, yeah, basically.
You messed up.
Yeah, it went wrong.
Nature's fail-safe is saying, nope, you're not going to reproduce. Sorry. But same thing with snakes. Some of the king snake crosses, some of the cooler bear crosses. A lot of people do what is called like imperial milks, which is like a king snake, a California king snake crossed with a milk snake. Some of those are infertile. The babies are sterile. You can't.
So it's like crossing like a donkey and a horse where you have mule, like most mules are
sterile. Yes. Yeah. It's even though they're in the same exact family, but they're the suburb or something like that.
Yeah.
They doesn't match up.
Just something doesn't link.
Nope. Huh. Some are though, but you can take some king snakes and breed them together, or some other species, and they're still fertile. But it's only some that
just
can.
a little bit closer on the family tree than
Yeah.
than other colubrids. Yeah, just one branch over. That's crazy.
I picked up a phone call.
Yeah.
When I was working for another reptile business that I won't mention their name.
Okay.
I get a phone call and the guy goes, "So you got any big snakes?" I was like, "Big snakes?" He goes, "Yeah, of course. We're a reptile business. That's what we do." And he goes, "Well, I don't know how to say this. I'm a gentleman. I'm in the adult industry. Is there any communicable diseases between snakes and humans?" And I'm like, "Wait, what? You're kidding me right now?" And he's like, "No. Like I need to know because I'm thinking about doing a video between a girl and a snake." And I'm like, I'm on the phone just looking at this phone going, "Wow, this is real right now." And this guy's like, he's not joking.
He's like,
serious?
can you
He's
text
dead
the clap
serious.
from a python?
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't think, honestly, I'll answer this real, but I don't think it's safe because that tail can wrap around things. There's a spur, there's other things, you gotta use the other end, there's teeth. It's just,
Like, I'm concerned for your safety.
there's more human risk here. It's not just that. It's not just diseases or bacteria, or do you have that risk as well?
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that can potentially go wrong. And he goes, "Oh, well, but you're saying it still can be done, though."
You're like, on top of it, you're fucking a snake.
Yeah.
It's like,
And I'm like, no, it can't be done.
Yeah, I'm
but
like-
yes, and
I can ask my snake, see if anybody's down to do a video.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ask my
exactly. And he
snakes.
goes, "Okay, so if I went down there and I bought a snake from you guys, would you sell it to me, knowing this?" And I was like, "No, I can't.
Like, ethically, I wouldn't be
No,
able
I couldn't.
to.
No, I couldn't. Literally, you can walk in and I'll turn you down. I know.
Yeah.
I know we're not supposed to turn down a sale for any customer, but that would be
Yeah, that's
turn down.
No, I wanted to ask though, like okay, like when you were starting, what like reptile did you go after your first? Like, did you start with like starter reptiles, or did you just jump into like the dangerous ones, or like did you go straight to lizards, or?
With me, it was more the king snakes. My mom caught them when I was young, so it never really pulled me in. My first red tail, just really pulled me in. That's what gave me that fascination, because I got to see something that was so small grow so fast, and I've never got to experience something like that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just a snake; she was my friend.
Yeah.
I took her places. My last day of 8th grade, I had her in my pocket. You know, I walked around with her all day long, and my buddy brought his snake as well, and managed to scare the crap out of a few teachers and kids. But when I honestly, I think it was the reptile museum that I worked for. That's what really did it for me. It was the large animals. And when I started working there, and you have a 5-foot lizard crawling on your back, and its foot-long tongue is wrapping around your ear because it's tasting
Those
you,
like
dude.
40 pounds.
And you have one walk up and another one walk on, and you're just like, wow, I'm being walked on by dinosaurs right now. Legit. Like, and there's no other feeling in the world that can compare to that. And honestly, it.
Yeah. So, what would you say like your main expert like species? Like your main that you could like if you had to pick one reptile to live with the rest of your life?
That is a hard question. A few people have asked me that. For now, it is hognose.
I don't know.
I love hognose. My biggest thing is watching them hatch because their little fat little heads pop out of this little golf ball looking thing, and they keep this fat little head just poked out of it for like a good 2 days. And they're little pig really funny. They're more. I like their spunkiness. I love their attitude. They come out of the baby. They come out of the egg with attitude.
Yeah.
And I like them.
It's got a lot of personality.
Exactly. I like things that challenge me. I like things that get a rise out of me. Like scorpions. You can stick a desert hairy in front of me and I'll free handle desert hairy no problem. Most all scorpions I'll mess with. That's why the work for now, we carry some really hot scorpions. We have one that's a hottie. We have the death stalker. We have the fat tail. Those ones you go to the hospital for. And if not, you could die if you're allergic to the sting.
Yeah.
Those are the ones I like to work with now. The ones that demand respect, I like to work with now. Too many times you get comfortable working with corn snakes, ball pythons, and
you get bit by one of those. It's not. You're like, oh.
It's not
like,
like you
that's
don't
cool.
respect the animal anymore,
it's just,
but it's just kind of like
it's not big as a threat. It's like, oh, you're biting. Even if you know some of the big pros, like I'm sure like Brian Barczyk, or like if they get whacked by a full-grown ball python, they're like, what? Like it still hurts, but it's not like like if I got hit by a full-grown ball python, because I've been bit by blood, and that sucks hard.
No, that does.
Really
They hit like a ton of bricks.
Yeah, they hit hard. Really.
They hit hard.
That's the scary. That's what I always tell people, because they're like,
strike
okay,
sideways.
yeah, they're like, does getting bit by a snake hurt? And I'm like, it's not the teeth that hurt. Like getting actually bit. I'm like, it's the you have another animal like punching you with their head. It's like they're throwing everything out.
A ball python S's up like it's third of its neck, right? Maybe half of its body, and kind of like hits you with its like the neck little snap, and it gets you. And little teeth like that, the blood python, it's stockier.
Yeah, on top of it, it's a heavier snake. It's just a fatter snake.
Imagine, you know how you have your heavyweights with those long arms?
Yeah.
You know, you can get tagged a bunch of times by those. But you get one of those Mike Tyson style, and then you get a short little, it hurts.
Ooh, that's a blood python. I got hit right in the chest. I had one, and it was a small one, probably like maybe a couple months old. It was like this big. I was holding it, talking to Anthony, my brother, right? And I was talking to him, and I felt this, like, just the weight of the snake, like, move. And my brother goes, oh. And I was like, what the heck? And sure enough, boom, right in the chest. And you got me, like, right here on the side of my teeth.
It's the weight behind it that
hurts,
makes it painful.
Yeah, because the teeth are about the same size.
The teeth are small. It's like a ball python. I mean, you might even get one, like, break off in you. But they're tiny teeth, but it's the weight of the snake that it sucks.
And this if it's like a green tree python or anything like that.
Those things are
I've had a tooth go down my finger and then through my finger.
That's a question I was gonna ask, is like, you working with so many reptiles, so many animals, like what's the worst, some of the worst bites you've had, like green tree pythons?
That was an emerald tree.
Okay.
They have longer fangs.
Yeah.
That one was a mistake. I put the emerald into a tub to feed it. I looked down, snake's right there. A customer asked me a question. This is twice it's happened like this too. And I look back up and the snake's right there at my finger. It latches on. One tooth goes down the nail. The other one goes through the finger. Their teeth are this long.
Yeah, they're big fucking teeth.
They're big. It's not a small emerald too. It's a good size. And my instinct reaction, which I've canceled this now, is to pull back.
Yeah.
I pull back and the tub's right here and I go, poof.
There goes the snake.
The snake's flying through the air. There's a freaking $1,000 snake flying through the air.
Get the money. Get the baby.
I'm not even caring about my hand at this point. I'm seeing a snake flying through the air. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah.
But I caught it, put it back in its tub, and then that one that went through my finger took the longest to get out, because when I went to get it out, it broke. And so I had to wait for it to fester. And then it was, I was actually helping my buddy move a coffee table. And I felt it push through the other side. And I'm like, oh, hey! And I pulled it all the way through.
There we go. That's the end of that one. Yeah. Because I'm sure the whole time you're just like, ooh, every now and then.
Anything that touched.
Yeah.
And then the false water cobra.
Okay, yeah.
Similar situation, putting it into a tub. And the customer asked me a question. Customers are notorious for asking you questions when you're doing something that's very important.
Yeah.
But that one, their teeth are like sharp, and they're very in file. They're like very lined because their mouth is kind of long. So when I pulled back on this one, its teeth slid around the outside of my fingers, and it looked like a hot dog that you put in a microwave.
Oh, okay, and it splits like right down the middle.
Right.
Oh,
that one was annoying.
Have you ever been bit by any like the larger lizards, like the monitors and stuff?
Yes, I have been bit by tegus and a couple larger monitors. Their bites feel different.
Yeah, because I've never been bitten by I've been bitten by leopard geckos, but they have like a hard rim. They don't really have teeth.
I even assume a leopard gecko bite to even a corn snake bite. It's very similar.
Yeah, just a bunch of like mouth pressure and like hard stuff.
Oh,
like it doesn't feel like it's breaking the skin. It's just like
the monitors.
Yeah, those I can imagine.
Since the teeth are so sharp, they pierce, and it's like you can feel every single tooth pierce through your skin at like almost about the same time with the pressure. And they're like their saliva, it hurts more. It doesn't. It's like a sting on top of it.
Because there's like a science saying like some of those larger monitors have like a mild venom in their saliva. Yeah.
More research has been done where most of them actually do have a venom-ish gland in their mouth, similar to the Gila monster.
Yeah.
Similar to the Komodo, but the Komodos are so bad because they're bacteria.
Yeah, their mouth's already just nasty.
So, but I think there's like, call me if I'm wrong, but it's like 18 or 30 something different bacteria that are in the mouth of the Komodo dragon. Their venom is like an anticoagulant. So when it bites you, it makes you bleed more and more, but it's your open wound allowing the bacteria to set in is what kills the animal.
That's the animal. I mean, I've seen plenty of documentaries. They'll end up following like their prey forever and just wait till they just die getting sick. Yeah,
see, this is another thing that the reptile people do. Tons of documentaries.
Yeah, no, I just watch documentaries. I was watching. I'll watch documentaries about fake animals. Like I watched on Netflix. There's this series called like Alien Planet or like Alien something. But it was like a theoretical science on like how ecosystems would evolve in like different conditions. And they did
that's cool.
Yeah, they did one where it like showed how like this predator and this prey and then like the fungus, and like it was giving like a demonstration on like that cycle, and then like on how would life develop on a planet that doesn't rotate, so like where it just has constantly two extremes.
Oh god.
Yeah, and they're like
cook and freeze, I guess.
Well, right? The thing they had something called a heptapod. Now I'm quoting Netflix at this point, and if like you guys see the video or the show, it's really good. But they had this thing called like a heptapod, and it's like this crab looking thing with that's 8? No, that's hepta is
5.
No, it's penna.
Hepta 6?
6, I think.
Yeah, so it was like a whatever hepta is shaped. I think it's 6. Is it?
Tri, quad, penna, and I don't know what 6 is.
Hex, I think 6 is hex.
Hex is 6, and then 7 I don't know, and then 8's octa, and then 10's a deca.
Hepta is 7 hepta? I don't know. This thing was called a heptapod.
We can look it up.
Back to our story. It looks like a
fact checker.
He was my dude for that yesterday. I'm like, Efren, I'm like, you're my tech guy for today. So if any questions come up, just type it in real quick.
Right.
But no, so what the species would do, it like took over the planet. It was like the main species on this planet, and what they would do is like they would go to the equator. That's where they mate. And then they'd like release their spores, right? Because it was like a crab-looking thing. They would release its like spores as like little floating seeds, and those seeds would hatch into heptapods. But because of the extremes on the planet, there's all this wind, right? Because cold air and hot air, so you make wind.
Yeah.
So at the equator, there's hella wind, so it just blows these eggs all over the whole planet. And it's like on the extremes, these if you're born there, that's how you're gonna end up growing up. Your environment shapes who you are. So all the heptapods that are born on the cold side are short, stocky, really hairy, slow. They're meant to live in a slower, colder environment. And all the ones that grew up on the hot side of the planet, they're like jet black. They're really skinny. They're quick moving, and they stay like towards the shadows. They're still like rock maneuvers and stuff, but they're just quick darting because they live in a hotter, faster paced environment. And so it's like explaining the difference between having those two extremes and how your environment can shape, a species.
Yeah, look at the island chain system in Fiji.
Yeah,
Oh my
like
God.
Galapagos, all those,
Yeah.
It's, you go one island to another, and it's insane.
That's, I think, my biggest thing about having we'll go with exotic pets is like, I guess the umbrella term we can use for, because I keep tarantulas now. You keep all kinds of reptiles, from lizards to snakes to amphibians. Efren, you got bearded dragons. My favorite part about having an exotic animal is like kind of having a piece of the wild, or seeing the behaviors and trying.
Amphibians are the best for that.
Yeah, because I used to keep
By far,
I used to keep a reef
amphibians
tank.
are the best for that.
Yeah, I could because I don't
Anything
know.
cooler.
Yeah, anything more alien than what you are. I think the closer you get, the closer you get to you, the more home you get. Because like with the bearded dragon, I see it as this cool dog kind of looking dragon where he's hanging out. I'll give him some bugs. He'll eat it as soon as I give it to him. Really cool. If you do that with a frog's not gonna do that. A frog's gonna be a frog. Bearded dragon you can have carry around on his shoulder. Put little wings on him.
And where I see the difference is I love bearded dragons and I love frogs at the same time. But where I'm at in my as many years as I've been doing it, I'd rather have the frog.
Yeah, because it's like that's what
Because-
you're going for.
Because the amount of cage space I would need for a bearded dragon to set it up correctly the way I want it to would be huge.
Yeah.
I would want to do shelves. I'd rather do ledges and stuff like that. Well, I can do an 18 by 24 really badass
Make it look
looking tropical
straight
setup
out of
with
the jungle,
moss
yeah.
and straight out of the jungle with less cost, less lighting, less upkeep, and temperatures that are most homes.
Yeah.
It's become manageable.
Yeah.
With as many species as I keep, those are the ones that I go to time and time now. That's why I mainly keep snakes now too, feeding once a week.
They're a lot.
Spot cleaning 2 to 3 times a week. That's wow, that's a lot.
I feel bad. Everyone's looking at me. He's like, you got me a bearded dragon.
I understand because like when you have so many of these animals, you're gonna want something that's not like so much upkeep that
Correct.
you can just kind of have they'll take care of themselves for a while, and that allows me to go to like take care of these other animals.
Yeah, well, that's why I got into I'm terrified of
Tarantulas
spiders.
are easy.
Hate spiders, terrified of them. But I also have 8 tarantulas sitting in my closet because the amount of upkeep. You feed them once every maybe week or 2 weeks if they had a really good meal.
Yeah.
You leave them alone. They don't want to be held. I don't want to hold them. I like to look at them. They'll look at me.
Yeah.
That's it. We got a good. Whenever I feel like being nature boy or like getting really animally, I'll just go in my closet, look at my spiders, check out my dubia roaches, and like, cool, got my fix. And then
Working in the retail setting for years, that's one of my biggest pet peeves. Is I hear people go up to the tarantulas and go up to these other animals and go, "Ew, what is that? Who would want to even keep that for a pet?"
yeah.
And you're like, "Well, do you keep fish?" And they go, "Well, yeah. Now, do you ever touch your fish?" "No. Why would I do that? Why would you touch that?"
Yeah. Why would you touch a spider?
Yeah.
It's kind of like on the same page. It's a beautiful species that you admire from afar. Not all animals are supposed to be held.
Yeah.
Just because it's your pet, it's not supposed to. You want to hold a really angry bird. You love this angry, beautiful bird that sings for you every morning. But are you gonna hold this angry bird?
When it's chomping on
It's
your
like,
Yeah,
I like
I
my
know.
fingers.
But you love to hear this bird sing to you every morning.
You like looking at the pretty feathers and
Correct.
watching the bird do. That's my favorite
Do its
thing.
thing.
Yeah, is watching animals do what animals do. It's like when I would have my reef tank. I loved my reef tank because it's not like it's the most alien world you could get here on Earth is having a piece of the ocean. And I was like, the way I would set it up, the way I would do the rocks, place the coral, and just having the fish do whatever the fish do. It's like I'm watching a little section of the ocean that I could have in my bedroom. The same thing with the reptiles. I can watch a little piece of the desert, a little piece of the jungle, and watch this species do what this species does, especially when it comes to spiders, or those really alien kind of creatures that we have here on our planet.
And that's the best way, honestly, to have that look for reptiles. That's what I try to tell all my customers. When they go, how do I set it up? Well, where is it from? And they go, well, I don't know. Well, then
There's your first strike one.
Exactly. Well, no, I actually, it helps them to say, I don't know. because most people don't want to go home and do the research.
Yeah.
Well, then I go, well, here you go. Here's an excuse for you to go do some research. Here's an excuse for you to open up your webpage and look up that one thing. Because as soon as you look up that one thing, it becomes Pandora's box.
Yeah, yes.
It's probably Spider.
Oh yeah.
He's loose.
You're dragging. Let me get him out of here.
I'm like,
I'm gonna start fighting in there.
I'm like, Jesus Christ!
Snake has all wrapped up.
They're all on each other.
Was it him?
Yeah, it's just he's the only one that's out.
He's out there chilling. It's like, what's up, dude? You're a healthy guy, huh?
He's a fat boy. What I was gonna say? What
He's
the
all
hell was I
puffed
gonna
up from
say?
something in there.
It might be the
He just came out of brumation.
Oh, he's that's defensive. See that right there? When he turns your face towards you, flattens out. Defense poster. He's making himself look bigger to you.
By widening his.
Yep. Hey, buddy.
So yes, this is or Efren, this is your turn. Go ahead and
Yeah, that's
Dope.
Spyro. He's 2.
Big boy. He's
Yeah.
healthy.
He just turned 2 in November. He woke up today from brumation. So I've been trying to get him like warm and get him back into the swing of things.
He might not go right back into the swing of things just because of the amount of weight that is on his body.
Yeah, he's heavy.
man, when he was, cause he was heavy going in, but it looked like he put on weight while he was asleep. Cause like halfway through the winter, like
Yeah.
I'm like, dang,
All
dude.
his chin started to collect.
Yeah, so he's a big boy.
Hey, buddy.
You know what? I think we might have. Let's see if he'll eat.
You hungry, buddy?
Eat the food.
Really?
It's on his face.
No?
Like those cockroaches are warm, so they're like hella fast.
Yeah, usually they will tear right after it, though. Yeah, we do dubias at the house. Halloween hissers. Species called extinct roach as well.
It's called an extinct roach.
Yeah. They're
So-
called.
So that's what I was gonna ask before we get into feeders. Is you were kind of on a start of how you would get someone their first reptile. Like that's something I wanted to talk about. Was how would if someone were to come to your store and be like, hey, I want to get into reptiles. What's the reptile you would tell them to go to, and how would you set that up? How would you care for that animal?
Series of questions is what I like to start off with. I never ever, even though people usually know what they want, I never ever say, yeah, that's going to be the animal for you. When they say, I want this animal. When I show them the animal, I don't give them all pros. I give them pros and cons. I want to show them, this is what you're going to expect your animal, but this is what's going to happen. Not a lot of, like, people love iguanas. And so many times I have to tell people how much lighting needs they have, how much handling needs they actually have, and how much time and effort you need to put in to get a good lizard out of this.
Yeah, and then if you don't, like, what's the consequence you're going to end up with is, like, you know, a 10-pound fish.
Yeah, how much space you're going to need.
5 to 6
5
foot
6
lizard,
foot lizard
yeah.
that'll hurt you and, you know, rip you open and whack you pretty good if you get a pretty
Formidable
feisty
weapons.
mammal. Yeah.
Definitely.
That was, I think, my very first, and not to get too far off the subject, but my very first time I saw an iguana was at a reptile rescue. They used to have this one in Roseville, kind of like in this industrial area. But you would go and they had just a bunch of different reptiles. They had birds and stuff. But you would go there and they'd tell you, like, the healthy animal, what happened to them. But they had, like, 7 male iguanas just in this, like, it looked like a cell block of just plexiglass and huge rooms. And someone asked her, like, why do the iguanas cage have plexiglass on it? They're like, well, these males, the reason why no one wanted them is because they're kind of aggressive. So when you walk by, they would just sit there and whip the plexiglass with their tails. You know, their tails are that long
It's
and
like a bow whip.
like
right?
that thick, yeah, like super thick. So you get whipped with that, you know, a super heavy, strong male might cut you open with it. You know, they might break skin because of it. And so they had plexiglass up because they said if you had bars or glass, if you had glass, the lizards would break the glass. If you had bars, they used to break their tails on the bar.
Because it wraps around the bottom.
Yeah, and they're hitting it with so hard it's just coming across. So they put plexiglass up, but the plexiglass is all like beaten and scratched up. No, if you wanted like a real dinosaur, that's what I think of when I think of like living dinosaurs, iguanas. They're just big, mean. They can be mean.
I got my favorite monitor down in my job right now. It's the black throat monitor.
Ooh,
gotta love them.
Those are
5-6 feet, puppy dog tame, but you gotta have a lot of an empty pocket. You'll have an empty pocket, but they eat a lot.
Oh, okay.
A lot, and you have to keep up with lots of calcium, just because they grow so fast. And without high amounts of calcium in their diet, they end up with metabolic bone disease real easy.
Wow.
That's another thing.
Yeah, well, go ahead.
And that's setting up animals. After the iguana conversation, I usually go, so what do you want out of your animal? And 9 times out of 10, I want to be able to handle it. I want to be able to,
play with
work
it,
with it, and immediately go crested gecko, leopard gecko, bearded dragon.
Mm-hmm.
Those are my first 3. Me as a keeper for hundreds of years, I'm like, I don't want to go with the bearded dragon.
Yeah.
But I still show them a bearded dragon because if it's just a single pet for one person, they make great pets. They really do.
Yeah, because that's the hard part is like separating yourself from being a because I have the same mentality when I go to reptiles. Like, well, I'm a breeder. Like, I see like, because I know me. If I go with one dragon, that dragon's gonna turn into like 7.
At least no.
Yeah, exactly. No, seriously, that's how it goes. So I'm like, well, like what to start off with, Efren? We had one. We went to Serpentarium once. Got one tarantula, and now I have 8. I ended up like going home, ordering 4 more online. And then like picking 2 more up from like Craigslist, and sure enough, that like turns out you end up having so many. So I do that same thing as I think of when I'm trying to recommend a lizard to somebody or an animal. I have that breeder's mindset, like, all right, well, if you want like 12 of these, you got to pick something that's like easy.
Right.
But yeah, so you said bearded dragons, leopard geckos, and
Crested geckos. Yeah. Crested geckos is still really underrated.
Do you pick crested geckos mainly for their setup care?
Yes.
Yeah, that's usually what I'll go for. Yeah.
You were saying those were the ones that you can just keep in racks, like they don't need a lot of light?
That's leopards.
Okay.
Leopards are the ones that the cresties are the ones that you don't need like any heat equipment pretty much because it's just regular room temperature.
65 to 78 degrees like most homes.
Yeah, just keep them in your kitchen or wherever. They're just fine.
You spray them down 2 to 3 times a day with a little mister. Keep their little rapashi food dish up there. Redo it every other day.
Yeah.
Give it crickets 2 to 3 times a week. It's one of the easiest animals. They're soft.
Yeah, that's so easy.
They're non-abrasive when they're on you. If you get them when they're young, they get really chill. They're not too skittish as adults at all.
Yeah.
So they do make a great pet, but where they lack is a personality. They won't sit there and chill. They won't be looking at you like, "What are you doing, bro?"
Mm-hmm.
I can probably I used to do this at the reptile shows. Like if this was a business card, I'd go up to this guy.
He's like, whoa,
and I'd go like this, and
take pictures like that.
And people would just allow them to just hold the business card, and he would just chill.
That's tight. He's just hanging out like that.
And because they just chill and they're so lazy lizards, they great for marketing. It really is.
He's just hanging out. It's super tight. What's up, buddy? You're gonna get all mad at me, huh?
Like I said, I think something was bugging him in there.
Probably heard one of the snakes or like the Womo python moving in the box or something.
Yeah, because that's a styrofoam in there.
Yeah.
He's probably going, "What is that?"
That sounds really big. So crested geckos, super easy setup, super easy care. I would agree that they don't really have personality and they're like jumpers. I feel when they're babies, of course they're gonna be jumpy because they're like that big and you're this huge thing handling them, so they're gonna want to escape. But like you said, if you put in the work when they're young, they're gonna get chill when they're older. But if you don't, now you got this huge frog thing that's like
jumping pretty fast.
Yeah, they're a lot faster than people think they are. But then your final one, leopard geckos. What'd you say about that one?
Leopard geckos, they're cool. They're easy. The only thing I don't like on leopard geckos is because everybody wants to put them on sand.
Yeah.
If you are gonna put them on sand, it has to be a natural sand, not a
That play sand, the channel sand.
Vita sand. I can't stand Vita sand.
Vita sand, calcium sand, and like
Calcium
sand.
bicarbonate is what that is. Dude,
Yeah.
that's so dense of a calcium mineral.
Yeah,
that
they won't
it's
be
not
able
gonna break down in your animal the time that it's in there.
How long is it? Yeah, that bit of calcium is going to be in that reptile for
A long time.
yeah. They have that's another horrible
Stings
thing.
too. Ugh.
It's like impactions
Yes.
and all kinds of there's a lot.
Leopard geckos are fun. They really are. Directed towards kids because they're bright colors. Yet once again,
yeah.
typical slower moving, and they're smiley.
Mm.
You know, they have a cute face. That's what kids go for.
The cuteness, the
Cute,
hog
little
nose,
eyes,
yeah.
look at you.
That's I think that's why I like going to the snakes. I think that's why I like hog noses is because they have that cute face, that little push up nose, and you said like that biggest. They have an interesting head. It's not like a most snakes where like there's a distinct head. It kind of looks like their head just blends in with their neck, and then like it's just one solid noodle.
It is. You know, since I brought a big girl.
Yeah, you know what? Let's get to that part of the show. Let's bust out some reptiles.